Yeah. What's the most common reasons for a Scrum Master to attend the daily Scrum? The cynic in me says because it's their job. Very often when I'm teaching people Scrum and we come to the daily Scrum and the Scrum Master's role, they'll always be, they have to be there, it's their job. You know, they're there to make sure it runs, they're there to make sure that everybody reports and blah, 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 and it's all wrong. There you go. But the most common reason that Scrum Masters turn up is because they believe that that is what they're meant to do. Okay. And for anybody who doesn't know me well, if that's what you're doing something for, stop it and work out why it's important. Because at the moment, if you're turning up because you feel you should, not because it's valuable or worthwhile, or you're adding something to your team, to the world at large, you're just wasting time. So there are other reasons. Because you're meant to is not a good reason. A Scrum Master's job is not to turn up to the daily Scrum. Okay? They may turn up and there's nothing wrong with it. Their role is really to get the team into a position where the team values the daily Scrum and the developers turn up naturally, willingly, and of their own volition to get the work done. So if they don't have to be there, why would a Scrum Master turn up? Well, in the early days of a team, as part of that education piece, helping the team understand why it's important, how to run a daily Scrum well, what facilitation looks like in this example, what as examples of good conversations, poor conversations, what to hold over, what to have now, all of these nuances that teams need to work out together. So they're there to facilitate, really to help the developers have a great daily Scrum. And that's a good use of the time. They're there to hear where the problems are happening. Maybe just to hear them. Okay. Maybe because they're starting to recognise patterns. Okay, and they've got their ears out on the bigger changes and the bigger issues that are happening in the organisation. So they're noticing patterns that are cropping up. Somebody is always late on a Thursday Scrum. Why is that? Team's not necessarily going to notice. That person may know but not want to talk about it. The Scrum Master is going to notice that over time and just have a quiet conversation to understand what's happening and if there is anything that needs to change. Okay? So they're there to understand the team dynamics, keep an eye on relationships, not in a judgmental fashion, but just an understanding, how's this team working, how is it pulling together, how can we be better? Because ultimately that's what a Scrum Master's role is to create an environment where everybody else can really excel in their role. So Scrum Masters can be at daily Scrums. They don't have to be, and that is an important thing to remember. If there's something more important to do, you should be going and doing that. But if there's not a meeting, one of the examples that I use very often is I was, as a new Scrum Master, shouted at for not being in the daily Scrum. And I thought, well, it's fair. Because I, like many, thought, that's my job. I need to be there. However, I had spent nearly 3 months getting into the diary of a CTO. And the meeting I had clashed with the daily Scrum. And it was to help the team. And I made the judgment call that actually that conversation with a senior leader was going to be more impactful and more beneficial to that team than being in a room with a group of people who knew what they were doing. They knew what a good daily Scrum looked like. They could execute them very, very well. And I knew there was no major issues because we had chats throughout the day. So I went there. And that's what we want to do, is we want to remember our job and our duty is the team at large. Not just to make sure things work, but that they are improving. And sometimes there are conflicts and we need to prioritise those to the best of our abilities. So why do Scrum Masters turn up? I hope it's because they're working in service to their team. They're there to help them be better. They're using that time to help maybe educate the team on the use of the daily Scrum, on how to do it better, on how to work better as a team together, to recognise issues, to understand relationships, to understand the general team dynamics so that they can take that information back and help the team reflect in retrospectives or similar meetings so that they can improve. If you've got to this point in the video, I hope you've enjoyed it. If so, a like would be appreciated. If you want to hear more from me, more answers to questions that maybe you've got in the Agile world, please subscribe to the channel. And if you've got a question that you really want answered, drop it in the comments. I promise we'll get around to it. Thank you.